not everything is about your insecurities. That's what Rumi said to Mira in the middle of a discussion, and dude, this seems like a harsh line, but it carries a heavy meaning. Today, I'll show you how K-pop Demon Hunters brought up some serious topics that only adults notice. Hey beautiful people, I'm Julie, and let's begin by talking about the Huntrix because their past has some pretty heavy stuff. Zoey is the type of character that seems to be really confident about herself, right? But when we look closer, we can see that she carries a big emotional weight. She grew up in the middle of two worlds, literally. In the clip of Golden, we see a female pulling her to Korea and a masculine hand pulling her to the USA. It's a pretty strong visual representation of her parents' divorce and the cultural shock that she has to deal with. And although it seems nice to have two countries to live in, it actually had a negative impact in her. She lost her identity trying to please both sides. Dr. Han even tells her that eagerness to please may be a little too eager. And this hints like a train because Zoey represents people who grow up thinking to be the good daughter, the good student, the good friend, all at once, and ended up forgetting who she really was. How many teenagers go through that every day, trying to keep a perfect image, caring for attention, but don't know how to ask for help? And then she splits internally. She doesn't know where to run or who to be. And while Zoey tries to please everyone, Mira chose the opposite way. If Zoey split, Mira shielded herself. At the beginning of the movie, she seems to be just a regular rebellious daughter with zero tolerance for rules. But the truth is that she's the image of someone who's tired to try to fit in. She says that to herself with all the words, "Look who I've become." She shows a type of pain that comes from a long time listening to that "you are too much trouble, too much loud, too much stubborn." Mira internalized all that and became what people expected her to become. It's almost like if she said, "If that's what you see in me, that's cool, I'll be exactly that then, but in my way." She represents that teenager who grew up listening to that same criticizing all time and decided to stop asking for acceptance. The one that hears from their parents that they're rebellious, when actually they were only trying to shield themselves from the world who never gave it room to open up and be vulnerable. Like this video if you'd like to take those two and give all the love they deserve. Rumi's story is one of the heaviest in the movie. Since she was little, she knew she had a mission. After all, she was the daughter of one of the strongest hunters and a K-pop star. She was meant to take her mother's throne. But did she ever want that? Or actually, did she think she would fit her place? Rumi grew up feeling she could never fill her mother's place. And there's more. Because she was born half demon, she believed that she was a mistake, that she wasn't worthy of the power within her. Put these patterns all in the past now, and finally live like the girl they all see. This sums up how much, and the song Golden she says she believed to be a mistake, a burden. And this gets even heavier when we hear what she says to Jinu, that the more she hid the shame, the more it grew inside her, until someday this guilt started to destroy the only thing that gave her purpose, her voice. This is really meaningful because it shows how the fear of letting someone down and the shame of who we truly are can suffocate. And do you remember how she was paralyzed when her friends almost saw her patterns right at the beginning of the movie? And then she says to Jinu, "How will I make things right and fix myself if I don't have my voice anymore?" Dr. Han said a line that read like, "You have too many walls, and focusing on only one part makes you ignore the rest, isolating you emotionally." And he might be weird, but he was spot on his analysis. And this hits for everyone who keeps beating themselves up. And I know that this can slip by the kids when they watching the movie, but older people caught this message and might have related to it. Comment down below if you're one of those people. And the golden chorus kick in. We're going up, it's our moment. You know together we're glowing. And dude, almost no one realized this line right there. But it breaks my heart. This song isn't just a regular hit. In the movie, on an interview, the Huntr said that golden represents their stories. And it makes sense. So when they all sing about things they used to hurt them, but don't hurt anymore because of who they are now. It's more than just a song. They don't just want to defeat the demons from the underworld. They also want to defeat their inner demons. And when I say it like that, I mean their problems, the voices that never stop to whisper in their heads. Like if they had an angel and a devil on their shoulders fighting constantly, you know? Almost everyone has them. The problem isn't just having these voices, it's when the devil speaks louder, when he takes the lead of our thoughts. Then we start to spiral downwards. Then Jinu's story comes in, because he was so poor, suffering by seeing his family in need. And when you're an adult, you feel the weight of your responsibilities. We can't just think about ourselves. We're about taking care of our families, bringing food to their tables. That feeling of wanting to help out but knowing you can't do much. And that is frustrating. I think most people identify with that feeling he had in the past. Many people can get like Jinu. We look back and see our mistakes, the ones we carry as a weight and can't get rid of. Sometimes people forget about them or forgive you, but you just can't let it go. And if we don't forgive ourselves, we can't go on. And I think K-Pop Demon Hunters is about that, about people trying to carry all that weight all by themselves, without sharing this feeling and forgiving themselves for what happened. Sometimes for something that wasn't even their fault, like Rumi's case. It's like she said twice to Jinu, "That's not all you are. This is just your demon talking." K-Pop Demon Hunters bring this message that it's possible to overcome these voices. There's a scene where Jinu looks at Rumi and says, "If hate could defeat Guima, I'd have done it a long time ago." And like, this line means a lot in everyday life because there are moments when we are so mad, filled with hate, that we think this will be enough to overcome who hurts us. But it won't. Hate only creates more hate. It doesn't heal, nor solves any problem. It just destroys things, and people who live in this kind of relationship with their family or strangers know that's true. And Rumi feels that every day. When she sings in song Little, when your patterns start to show, it makes a hatred wanna grow out of my veins. It's almost like if she was being constantly reminded that she's a mistake, as if everything she ever was marked with no escape, and who never felt like that? But it's really nice to see how Demon Hunter shows that this doesn't need to be true, that patterns don't define anyone, that hate isn't the only way, and that as hard as it seems, we can turn pain into strength. Right at the end of the movie, one of the songs brings this line, "Let the past be the past till it's weightless." This directly connects with the Huntrix because each one of them carry a pain, a trauma, a weight that seems impossible to let go. But this past doesn't define who they are. It doesn't have to. They can be free. Rumi, for example, spent the whole life believing she was a mistake because she had patterns on her body, because she listened to that voice that repeated, "You're a mistake since you were born." For me, this hits different with kids that were planned to be aborted, for example. It's really strong because it's the type of feeling that appears and never goes away until you talk about it and sort it out. And when Mira and Zoey see Rumi's pattern and wield their weapons, Rumi gave herself up. She believes that if even her friends looked at her with fear, so maybe all the voices said was real. And when she goes to Celine and handed over her sword, I almost cried when I realized that she was giving up her life. She had lost everything and saw no other way out than losing her own life. That's really sad, okay? Tell me in the comments if you also dropped some tears. This scene shows a call for help that sometimes someone really close to us is in need for an answer. And to top it all off, she says, "Don't you get it? This is what I am. Look at me. Why can't you look at me? Why couldn't you love me? All of me." This line is a cry for acceptance. Rumi learned that our flaws and fears may never be seen, because that's what Celine taught her. But this is bullshit. If she says, I'm only accepting you if you hide your flaw, then you're not accepting her at all. And it's interesting how Guema manipulates people with the exact opposite of his lie. He says what people wanna hear. In the final song performed by the Saja Boys, they sing, I'm the only one who will love your sins, and I will love you more when it all burns down. That means when you're alone. And that's when bad thoughts lead. They become an anchor when you're alone, when no one cares about you. That appears as a false discomfort. And then you do it like Rumi, I do not deserve to live. But in the end, freedom comes. Rumi understands that hiding her pain, pretend that everything's alright, was part of the problem. That keeping all that for herself just made things worse. And Mira, in her own way, says, I should have let the jagged edges meet the light instead. And this line says a lot. It's easy to see adults relating to it. How many times trying to teach, protect, take care, we end up being harsh with people who just needed a hug, to be listened to. This final scene, this conversation between them is healing. It's the type of thing that shows why Demon Hunters goes way beyond K-pop and demons. It's about hearing bad voices and anyway choose to get up and say, I'm not just dead. Do you guys agree with me? Hasta la vista.